As a photographer or a photojournalist, we shoot many pictures on an assignment, and we may collect a lot of pictures, and then we have to decide which are the best images out of the entire assignment. With a digital camera, you can shoot a lot of images. You have a lot of options, but finally you have to select the best ones. With Mr. Gopinath Srikandan, we are going to look at his process of selecting the final images in a project.
As a photojournalist, you may be working on a variety of assignments. Sometimes you would be covering breaking news, sometimes you would be working on a feature along with your editor, or sometimes you could even be working on your personal project. In all these cases, and especially with the advent of digital photography, we end up creating a lot of photographs. We come back to the editing board with tons of photographs, which wasn't the case during the film days, because as you knew, there was a limitation with the films. Each cartridge had only 36 exposures, so you are much more mindful about what frames on which you exposed it on. But with digital photography, the advantage is you could experiment more, or rather you need not be really worried about taking as many frames. Even if your memory card became full, you always had the luxury of deleting a few and then taking the pictures that offered in front of you the next moment. So along with it comes, while there is this advantage of taking as many pictures as we wanted, in some sense unlimited number of pictures, it also posed a bigger problem. What to do with all these pictures, how to edit them. So automatically it took much more time to edit and choose your photographs. So sometimes it is a good practice not to be trigger happy, not to take as many as you could because just because the technology allowed it. Rather, if you did the editing in your mind while you are framing the picture and while you are taking the picture and what pictures you are taking, it will considerably reduce the amount of time that you will spend in front of the screen. So in this case, the lesser number of pictures does not really mean you have lesser options, especially if you have done your homework, especially when you have done your research, and especially when you have taken care of avoiding unnecessary pictures. Of course, in the beginning stages of being a photojournalist or even a photography enthusiast, you need not really worry about it. Go ahead and shoot as much as you want, but as you progress, you will automatically learn to cut down what to take and what to leave out. So now in this session, what we are going to look at is, once we have acquired our pictures, once we have taken them, we come and put them onto our computer or our editing suite. There are now, if you buy a DSLR these days, most camera manufacturers are providing a free software along with it to edit your pictures. Of course, these softwares have some limitations, but then it's more than enough to choose your pictures, group their pictures together, tag them, organize them, and keep them in a certain organized way. So there are some cameras, there are also some cameras that may not come with a software along with it, but then there are also many third-party software manufacturers whose software would work across camera brands. So in the beginning stages, you need not really worry about spending money on buying a editing software. As you progress, as you see these limitations are really limiting your workflow, then you could probably think about investing. At the same time, if you are working for an organization, especially if it is a media organization, probably they would have already bought a licensed software to work on it. So in this case, some of the examples we are going to see, I am using a legal free software which is given by one of the camera manufacturers, which is called Capture ND. So let's go on to the editing board and see how we edit. In this case, of course, what I am going to explain is a lot more subjective, because this is one workflow that works for me. That does not mean this is the way of working. There are several ways of working. People choose their own way in which they are comfortable, but then there are certain basics that I am going to talk about it today, so that you could not waste much of a time. We progress in a certain organized manner. So in the first screenshot, what you see here on the leftmost side, you see a number of folders. Here, like these are the pictures I have taken. In this case, I have organized them according to the date they were taken. So, now this may not be the right way of doing it, or this may not be the only way of doing it. There are several other ways of doing it, but this way really works for me. I keep all my photographs in a chronologically named folder. So, this is perfectly fine for me. In this session, I am going to show you a few photographs from my personal project where I am documenting the southern Indian landscape. So, in Tamil literature, there is a oldest corpus of poems dating back to 2nd century BC. It's called the Sangam poems. So, these poems interestingly talk a lot about the South Indian landscape. In South Indian landscape, what I mean is 2000 years back, what they meant was it is not just Tamil Nadu, but also parts of Kerala and parts of southern Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. So, I will show you a few pictures of this project, out of this project, and we will go about how we choose some of the pictures, how we leave out some pictures, and why I chose this picture, the rationale behind why I chose particular picture, and why these frames, and what is the context of these frames. So, especially while you are on a personal project or on an assignment, you will have to be fairly clear about what the output is going to be, how finally the photographs will be used, how large it will be used or how small it will be used, in which medium they will appear, whether it will appear on a book cover, whether it will appear as a poster which is like life size, or if it is going to be in a website. So, first of all, one has to be very clear about while you are taking the picture, you should also be thinking about the final medium in which these photographs appear. That idea, that knowledge about how your photographs are going to be finally published will help you in a lot in terms of how to frame them, whether you want to frame them in a landscape format or on a vertical format, or which one, how do you frame your picture so that you get you kind of create a maximum impact on your viewers. So, all these concerns are to be taken fairly closely and seriously at the beginning itself, because if you have this clarity in the beginning, it will save you a lot of time later on. Sometimes if you do not have that clarity, it is true that sometimes you may not have that clarity. It is not possible to have all the clarity in the beginning itself. That is fine, do not get too worried about it, but then to kind of have some sort of a orientation about why we are taking this picture and where these pictures are going to end up in the finally will help a long way. So, now we will move into this software I talked about, and then I will walk you through in a step by step manner in terms of how I go about choosing my pictures. Now, as I said earlier, this is not the only way of doing editing. There are several ways of it, but then the basics are somewhat the same. So, let us get started with this editing. So, in the first screen what you are seeing is, first of all, I see them all as thumbnails, because there are hundreds of photographs I took on that particular day or on that particular trip. Quite often you would see, like if you went on a 1 week long trip every day and you are shooting, if you are spending about 5 to 6 hours a day every day, you would end up with at least a few hundred pictures to even 1,000 pictures at the end of the trip, a week long trip. So, that is a lot of photographs to deal with to begin with, out of which you probably choose maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 10, depending. So, if your photographs are going to be themed or clubbed together as under a particular theme, you will need about 7 or 8 or even 10. So, here we are on the editing board. Our pictures are shown here. The projects, the photographs I taken on this personal project is here, but then as you can see, there are a lot of pictures. So, how do we go about them? So, the process I am going to explain to you right now is something that works very well for me. So, this does not mean this is the only way, but then you can also find your own way of doing it. But what I am going to largely talk about today are the basics. So, these are tried and tested methods that would work for everybody. So, in this case, as you can see on the top row, there are 4 photographs of silhouettes of mountain. Then the next 4 are about houses on a hill slope. When I saw these houses on a hill slope, I was pretty struck, and I was immediately reminded about my trekking days in the Himalayas, where I experienced avalanches Avalanches are when large amounts of snow that could not be held on top of the mountains, they are pulled down by the gravity and then they roll down the hill slope with a huge roar. So when I looked at this situation, it looked like as if these houses are one day, closely packed houses are going to one day slip down from the hill. It was scary for me to look at that. And then since I was photographing the landscape of South India and the kind of changes that has happened in these landscapes, so I thought this is a pretty interesting pictures to take. So I went about taking a picture. But then the close-up pictures, if you see these four ones of the houses on the hill slope, these are close-up shots. But sometimes I would also like to give a certain context about where these houses are located. So that's why I took the next two or three pictures, which is a longer shot, where it shows the entire hill slope and the hills and then the surrounding areas also. So now to get back to our editing process, so what we have to do is, what I am going to do largely is, I will first label the pictures I want, which I like. Now some people call it labeling, some people call it rating. Basically what it means is marking a picture. So how we go about marking a picture? So here now the picture on this on the top line rightmost picture is something that I am interested in. So I am in the process of labeling it. So here you see numbers 0 to 9. So if you are very sure that you are going to use this picture, you give a number 9. But if you think it could be used or it may not be used, then you give a lower number. Irrespective of whichever number you give, they will show up when you sort them by label. Another thing, if you are doubtful about whether to choose this picture or not, one thing that is very useful, one of the very useful features in all these softwares is that you could always see a full screen version of your picture, like here. So I see where I open the picture in its full size. What you see is not really full size, it is like fit to screen size. But then you can also zoom it to 100% to see whether it is sharp, whether if there are any blurs or anything. But once you are convinced, you can go and label it further. So how I am going to label it is, so this picture I like, I am going to give it a number 9, and which is what I have done. So I repeat the same process of toggling back and forth, enlarging and reducing the size of the image to see whether this is appropriate for me or not. And if once I am convinced, I give a number. In this case, I have just given number 9 to all the pictures I want to shortlist. So remember, this is only the first level of shortlisting. So in this level, or at this level, you need not be extremely stringent about throwing away pictures. If you are doubtful, include those pictures, because this is only the first round of editing. We will do subsequently we will do a couple of rounds of editing before choosing the right picture for our final output.
In this video, we saw how to do the first round of selection of images. We saw how to arrange the images, how to sort them, and how to shortlist the images. We also learnt about the parameters that decide the selection of images. We're going to continue on this in the next video.